Former President Donald Trump's case just got trashed, and many believe that AG Letitia James is done. We're now hearing from Dan Bongino and how he feels about Donald Trump's many legal troubles. We're all aware that the Attorney General campaigned with the specific aim of targeting the former president. This was literally a part of her campaign. She wants to take Trump down, and she wants to do it this year, 2024. It's also what others are seeing with Alvin Bragg, Fani Willis, and Jack Smith. Although Bongino isn't trashing Letitia James, he's basically coming after all of them because he sees how lopsided Donald Trump's cases are. Now we're going to get to what he said later on because he's making a lot of sense here. Now before we do, all I ask is that you guys take 1 second, hit the like button for the video. I totally appreciate you guys. And I want to thank you all for always sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. You guys are amazing. Now first, I want to go ahead and start off with something that we can now confirm when it comes to Israel. There were lots of talks that they fired missiles onto Iran, a possible escalation of conflict between the two, something that some say is Benjamin Netanyahu's way to belittle President Joe Biden, as he advised him not to retaliate after Iran sent a combination of around 300 missiles and drones. So here's the latest on that one.
We're coming on the air with breaking news out of the Middle East. 2 U.S. officials confirmed to CBS News that an Israeli missile has hit Iran. This comes after the weekend attack by Iran on Israel. Face the Nation moderator and chief foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan joins us now. And Margaret, first, what are we learning about these strikes?
Well, what we are learning is that this was a missile that hit Iran, fired by Israel. These are really just initial reports that U.S. officials are confirming that this incident did occur. There was a strike carried out, but in terms of target, damage assessment, whether there will be other strikes, we don't yet know the parameters for the Israeli operation that is underway right now. This may not be completely concluded, in other words.
This means that more attacks could be coming, and that's not good news for anyone, especially for people on both sides of this possible war. Now, we can't forget that there are people that are just trying to live their lives. Meanwhile, these attacks are taking place. Now, at this point, we don't know if more missiles will be sent over by Israel. We also don't know if Iran would retaliate right after that. The only constant thing here is the uncertainty surrounding the situation, given that Israel is moving as it pleases. Despite going against Biden's wishes, the White House still stands and still wants to reward them by giving them billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars. A plan that now seems to be backed by the United States House Speaker Mike Johnson, a move that some Republicans are just not thrilled about. So Mike Johnson has finally agreed to a floor vote on the $95 billion in aid that the Biden administration has been asking for.
The U.S. House has voted on a long-awaited foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, among other priorities.
On this vote, the yeas are 366 and the nays are 58. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The House has worked its will. These are not normal times here in the House or around the world, as we all know, and we had a disturbance here on the House floor just a bit ago. I just want to say simply what I think most people around the country understand and agree. We should only wave one flag on the House floor, and I think we know which flag that is. I said these are not normal times. They're not. The world is destabilized, and it's a tinderbox. It's a dangerous time. 3 of our primary adversaries, Russia and Iran and China, are working together, and they're being aggressors around the globe. And they're a global threat to our prosperity and our security. Their advance threatens the free world, and it demands American leadership. If we turn our backs right now, the consequences could be devastating. So this afternoon, the House acted, and we sent over to the Senate, and it will be transmitted shortly, our supplemental national security legislation. And make no mistake, this is not a blank check like the Senate supplemental bill was.
Now, doing the math, Ukraine is set to get the majority of this aid with $60 billion. $14 billion is slated for Israel, while smaller amounts would be given out to Taiwan and other Pacific allies. Now, although it does look like the aid will be cut up so that the lawmakers would be able to pick which they prefer. Now, it hasn't stopped some from being angry, though. In fact, one specific individual who was pissed at this whole idea was Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. So So Green said that she doesn't care if the speaker's office becomes a revolving door, possibly signaling that she's planning to oust Mike Johnson. She says that the old Republican Party that wants to fund foreign wars and murder people in foreign lands is done. All the while, these same congressmen would stab American people in the face and refuse to protect Americans and fix our problems. So Green is, of course, talking about the border crisis, and this is what many American voters are also worried about. Illegal immigration is a high concern for some Republicans. It's also becoming much more important given that Americans are now suffering directly from the actions of these individuals. Now, one such person is 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. So Laken Riley's life was cut short when she was killed by an illegal named Jose Antonio Ibarra. And now it looks like new evidence is coming out that it shows that the government officials were aware that this guy was dangerous. But at the end of it all, they still let him loose into the United States. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley alleges that it was Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas who released Ibarra. Now, according to Hawley, Ibarra was released on parole because there was no space to hold him. The senator said that this was not a valid reason to release a criminal onto the American public. Ibarra's confidential immigration file shows that he entered the country illegally back in September 2022. He appeared before the immigration authorities in New York in July 2023. When he provided his fingerprints, his criminal records popped up. He was then charged with acting in a manner to injure a child and a motor vehicle license violation. This means that Mayorkas and his people purposefully released an illegal alien with a criminal record back onto our streets. Now, here's the best part. Ibarra even went as far as to apply for a permit to work back in November. Now, you would think that it would be a challenge to get this given that he's got a previous crime against a child, but no. The Department of Homeland Security approved this in December. They knew that this guy was a criminal and was a danger to the youth, but despite all of that, they still released him and they gave him a free running start by approving his work permit. This is the kind of stuff that you wish we were making up here. Hawley then blasted Mayorkas and said that he knew about all of this and chose to lie about it. So this has made waves throughout social media and our own government. So it also begs the question, should aid be provided to Ukraine or for the US-Mexico border? For Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the answer is obvious. It's now at a point where Greene is trying to make amendments to the Ukraine aid bill. Now, this one's just a little bit out there, but it's something that we need to talk about. So according to her, any member of the House that chooses to vote and send taxpayer money to Ukraine, they should sign up to be a part of the Ukrainian military. In her words, Greene says, if you want to fund the war, why don't you just go ahead and fight in it? Show your support for Ukraine. It's very clear that this amendment won't stand, but it makes you wonder, how many do you think of these lawmakers would actually sign off on war if they themselves had to be a part of it? Now, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to Dan Bongino and how he's saying that everyone is getting rid of Donald Trump for the 2024 presidential elections. So in a recent post on X, formerly known as Twitter, Bongino questioned how the former president was dealing with all these legal issues. In his post, Bongino says, let me get this straight. So a Democratic judge with a daughter working for the Democrats is presiding over a trial in a deeply Democratic city within a Democratic state brought on by a Democratic prosecutor with an assistant prosecutor on loan from a Democratic president's DOJ in a state with a Democratic attorney general who ran on prosecuting Donald Trump and a jury pool selected from majority Democrats. He then went on to say that this sounds absolutely legit. I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, it definitely shows how Donald Trump has absolutely no chance in getting a fair trial in New York City. It also echoes the statement from the former president that all of this is being done to interfere in the 2024 presidential elections. This means that Attorney General Letitia James is in on it. The same with DA Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg, and of course, we can't forget about Jack Smith. So what do you guys think about all this? Will a jury from New York actually be impartial to Donald Trump? Now, as always, I'm gonna continue to keep tabs on everything. Appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll see you guys on the next one.